All right, welcome everybody to the November 13, 2024 council meeting for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. I would like to start by confirming that we have almost all council present. I think the only one not present, either in person or online, is Councillor Mazan, who may or may not join us later on in progress, but she's not currently here. We do have quorum. I would like to start with the land acknowledgement statement, which there we go. Okay, allow me please to start by acknowledging that we are on lands traditionally occupied by Indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples have cared for this territory for the benefit of future generations, and their stewardship throughout the ages is recognized. Thank you. Also want to say that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded on the Township of Muskoka Lakes website and our YouTube channel. And by participating in the open public meeting today, you are consenting to your image, your voice, and your comments being recorded and posted online. We did invite comments from the public on the agenda at our standard spot, which is tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca, and no such comments were received. We received nothing on behalf of that or in response to that. Next up, I want to point out that there is a supplementary agenda. It was issued to add two new points of interest or points of business. Number one is item 9C, a request for the donation of ice time, and the request was made by the Muskoka Christian School auction gala donation. And there is a gala donation letter, I think, was appended for everyone to have a look at. The second item is item 9D, coming up as new business on the supplementary agenda. Consideration of a resolution regarding the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund grant application, and there is a draft resolution there as well. I would ask anybody who has a pecuniary interest to disclose to please do so now. Councilor Nishikawa, you have?
When we have the discussion about the community futures, or not discussion, but when it comes up in the agenda, I'll be leaving.
Because?
I am the secretary.
Thank you. And Councilor Burry?
I will also be leaving for the same item. I was elected director of the Muskoka Community Foundation at their last board meeting.
Thank you for that. So we will give you notice when that's coming up, and you'll be given the opportunity to take your leave before the discussion starts. Okay, last piece that I want to make is a couple of comments, standard protocol for us. Motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders. It's simply done to expedite the meeting and make things move forward. And secondly, when it comes to voting, I'm going to ask that everybody raise your hand and hold it up until I have confirmed the vote. And if the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk. And in this circumstance, even though it is a verbal vote recorded by the clerk, it will not be considered a recorded vote. Okay. So we'll move to the agenda. Everybody has it in front of them, I hope, I trust. We have a couple of, we have a delegation, I think, first, and it's a delegation from Mr. Karl Klos, who I understand is here on behalf of the Bala Community Center Light Up the Night with a request. Mr. Klos is not in the room.
He's just
Just joining the webinar, okay. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if it's my turn to talk.
Well, it's your turn to talk. We can't see you. Are you going to be able to?
I can.
There you go.
I can bring my video on.
There you go.
There I am.
Welcome,
Hello,
Mr. Klos.
everybody.
You will have 5 minutes, and I would like you to please start with your name and address so we know how to get a hold of you. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Karl Klos. My address is 3969 Muskoka Road 169 in Glen Orchard. And I am here to speak about Light Up Night, which is an event that we ran last year at the Bala Community Center to for the community. I'm the lead sponsor on the event, and I would like to just say that the Light Up Night will be happening this year, November the 29th. It's a Friday, and there's a theme this year, which is Every Child Dreams, Light Up the Dream. We have partnered with the Ojibwe Nations people who are making some dream catchers for us to put on the tree, and we are going to respect the Indigenous people and keep this all in a themed manner. So events will include children's activities that start at 4:30 to 6:30, followed by the Christmas caroling and tree lighting at 6:30 to 7. We had some counselors and the mayor show up last year, and we hope that everyone will again this year as well. We are asked today is that you approve staff support to assist and add decorations as we did on a small scale last year. We lit up the tree. This year we were wishing to do a little bit more. So a possible benefit of this partnership will be more festive atmosphere that should result in higher usage of the community center in holiday functions. We would ask that the council approve a budget of $2,000 for door decorations, for outdoor decorations on the community center. And our group would match the amount so that we could put some lights on the community center. This could be justified as we intend to ask the grant in the amount that the second round of grant applications, as recommended by staff because of the event last year, the second part of the year, but as it turned out, there was no money left for the granting process. So basically we're asking council approval to authorize staff to participate with this partnership, even though it might be a new territory and presented setting. We are asking for a contribution that we will match in funding. Thirdly, that you will attend the event, including the staff members, as we think it's important. And finally, if Peter, if you, the mayor, are attending, if you practice your signing prior to your singing prior to the event, so that you're in tune. That was great last year, by the way. Thank you for your consideration. And would love to hear what you guys have to say about it.
Thank you for all of that, except for the singing part. Appreciate the feedback or the input. Okay, so just so you know, we're going to go around the table, find out if anyone has any questions or questions of you while you're here with us. We do come back and discuss this issue later on in the agenda. It's going to be a little bit of a lag between now and then, but we'll come back and talk about it at that point. But for now, let me ask council whether there are any questions of Mr. Klos. Yeah, Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you to Mr. Klos. I would wonder on the event that you've outlined, have you approached businesses in Bala for I don't know, fundraising, sponsorship, whatever? Have you taken in monies, appealed to the community for funding for this event? That would be the first part of my question.
Sure. Mr. Klos?
Yes, so to answer that, we have taken on no monies. We have a couple of the businesses participating. I don't know if you want to know that information right now, but they're offering services like basically food and beverage for the event. But currently we have not taken on any monies in assistance with the event. I guess I have put up money for the event, but it's like, I guess I am a business that's sponsoring the event.
Good, thank you for that. Secondarily, and I guess this would be certainly to staff, what is the protocol? And I guess James Cox likely, I don't know if he's here. Jennifer, if he's not, I suppose what being the township's protocol as it relates to, how do I say it? Our own facility, the township's facilities being used by the community with community, sponsorship, if you will, so that effectively it's a township tree. It's got, someone else's lights on it, the community center. An individual is putting things on our facility. Is that happening in Walker's Point? Is that happening in Torrance? Is that happening in Manette? Or is this a unique to Bala scenario? And if so, what is the nature of the agreement that we would have as a corporation with a private individual?
All right, if I may, I'd like to make sure we have no more questions for Mr. Klos directly. We're going to have time to debate this issue when it comes up under item 9. And I'd like you to keep that thought until then. Does anyone else have a question for Mr. Klos? Yeah, Councilor Nishikawa.
Hi, Karl. Will there be buckets outside for people to donate if they want to during the event? My question is more about what happens with those funds. If that's what the direction is going to be, that's my only question.
Mr. Klos?
So we have no intention on putting buckets out for the event. We weren't going to ask anybody for money at the event. We were actually paying for the food and beverage that was going to be there. Actually, the food was being sponsored by the restaurant, the Hook and Ladder, but the beverage we were going to pay for ourselves. So we were going to make it a free event for people.
Thank you for that. Councilor Roberts, I think you've been waiting patiently.
Thank you, Karen, through you, and I applaud you for this initiative that you're doing there in Bala to bring the community together and to celebrate the festive season. I have just a little clarification I require. I think I heard you say that you want staff time, or ask for staff time to assist in setup and probably takedown. And I would like to understand what that work would be. And the second part, you mentioned that you're looking for $2,000 and that the community would be matching that $2,000. So the question, is that correct? And if so, what are you spending $4,000 on? Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Klos?
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. So the time that we would be asking for, I'm not exactly clear on what we'd be required. We don't really need help with setup and takedown. We were going to do the setup and takedown. So as far as that being said, the funding itself would be more for decorations, and the matching of it, not so much by the community, but the group that is running the event. So we need to buy decorations and lights that we were going to put on the community center, and therefore we were just looking for some support with that.
Supplemental.
Sorry?
Chair, may I have a supplemental, please?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Your mic's off, Gord.
I had it on, turned it off. Sorry about that. I heard you say that you were going to put them on the community center, these decorations. I guess you'd follow, it would be nothing permanent attached to the building. You're going to hang them or something, I assume. Is that what's going to happen? Because as you're aware, you probably can't drill into anything or screw into anything unless you get authorization from staff. So I guess the question is, how are we going to affix, or like $4,000 of lights is a long way. I know within the Milford Bay community, and to answer, we have a tree that we did get a grant for to to put lights on. So of course, that's not damaging the tree or anything like that. So maybe just leave it at that. I don't think you're going to get the decorations and somehow you're going to attach them to our community center. Is that correct?
Mr. Klos?
Yeah, so we were going to be putting it on the building. At that point, it would be, I guess we could ask if it would be okay to affix some of it. But some of it was just going to go in like the planters and the canoe and the flower beds that were around. So therefore, we wouldn't need to drill anything into those, and it would all be removable. But if we weren't able to drill anything into the building, then definitely we would come up with another method.
Councillor Zavitz. You have another question?
Thank you, through you. Bala and Bloom was there yesterday and did all of the flower pots and surrounding area at the community center. I guess I would have two questions of you, Mr. Klos. Do you have the Bala Community Center rented for the 29th of November for the date you've indicated?
Mr. Klos?
Yes, so the group itself has booked the event. I believe it might be booked under Shane Carmichael.
So the facility inside is rented for that evening? This is a question. You're saying yes, it is.
You said yes. Is that correct, Mr. Klos, that it is rented for the evening for this event?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
The second part of my question then would be, who owns the ornaments once you purchase them and they're installed on our building?
I would say if we did get some assistance from the community, I'd be happy for the community to keep those ornaments on the building.
Well, sorry, thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions? No, I'm seeing no more. Thank you for your input. And as I said, we will come back to this after we hear some other delegations and reports, and we will discuss it internally here and get back to you with a decision. Okay?
Wonderful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. Bye, everybody.
All right, coming up next, we did have on the agenda an invited presentation from Tim Hutchison relating to insurance. I understand Mr. Hutchison is here in the room. Welcome. Will be available for comments, but I believe the presentation that we're going to hear is a report from Mr. Director Donaldson, Director of Finance. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon, Council. So staff report before you outlines the terms of our insurance renewal for 2024-25. With us here today to address any questions about our coverage or our renewal is Tim Hutchison, who is President of Municipal Insurance and Knox Insurance and is our broker of record. Staff issued an RFP in 2022, and our coverage was moved from BFL Insurance to Marsh, with a reduction of approximately 40% in premiums. The pricing has remained competitive, but this year the underwriter is proposing an increase of 100% of our deductibles for errors and omissions claims from $50,000 to $100,000. And in recognition of this, the insurer has agreed to lower the premium. Staff are recommending approval of the renewal, and myself or Mr. Hutchison are happy to address any questions of council regarding this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Donaldson. Does anyone have any questions for either Mr. Hutchison or Director Donaldson? Sir, Mr. Councilor Bosenworth.
Thank you. Through you, just curious, what's the history of our claims with our insurance?
So through you, Your Worship. So we have different types of claims. So the errors and omissions are the ones here. We do get smaller claims there within the deductible amounts. I would probably guess that we have an average of 1 errors and omissions claims per year. We may have other claims regarding personal injury, damage, those types of things, maybe 2, 3, 4 a year.
Councillor Bosenworth?
Yeah, so what I'm interested in is how much money would we receive on average from the insurance company after the deductibles annually for all of our insurance claims?
So through your worship, so I don't have those numbers at the ready. We have had the insurer have to take on some of the claim payouts for some claims over the past number of years, but I just don't have that number readily available. And Mr. Hutchison would only have information for claims that would have occurred in the last couple of years. But we would have claims with respect to the renewal that would be predating our transfer.
Thank you for that. Anyone with another question? Is anybody on the screen? I can't see. No. Anybody with other questions? I don't see any. Thank you very much for the report. And we will read this resolution. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Zavitz. Be it resolved that the proposal for municipal insurance coverage submitted by Marsh Canada through MIS Municipal Insurance Services, bracket MIS, for the period October 1, 2024 to September 30, 2025, at an annual premium of $550,022 plus applicable taxes be accepted, and that the Director of Financial Services be authorized to execute the authorization to bind coverage for the township and sign all documentation required to implement the 2024-2025 municipal insurance renewal proposal with MIS for the general insurance program. Anybody with questions? Anybody with comments? I'll call a question. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Next up, and I think it's appropriate that Mr. Hutchison is still here. We're going to have a discussion, I think, with Director Colucci about the Muskoka Lake Snow Trail Association matter. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon. So the report before you is, as you recall, last month we received authorization to negotiate the MOU with the Snow Roamers Association. And so before you is the revised MOU. In that MOU, we're able to obtain two of the requests that we did, which is allowing termination of the agreement within 6 months. And also the association will provide us notice when they're going to access the trail in the summer, in the off season, for doing maintenance. The one part of the agreement that we could not reach an agreement on was the liability part of the agreement. So the agreement here is worded the same as the original agreement, which opens the township up for some liability related to snowmobile use on the trail from unauthorized snowmobiles. So if, say, someone who does not hold a permit uses the trail, also opens us up for any liability that's not related to negligence on the part of the Snowmobile Association. So the option is to sign this agreement as it is noted here, and council does have the option to ask for further changes or not sign the agreement. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. All right, let's ask some questions. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. Through you, I guess to you, not being privy to the discussion / negotiations of late, I guess I would ask you, Chair, are you comfortable with this document? No, and should I be supportive of it?
I'm going to reserve until we hear all the questions, but I will give you my opinion at that time. Anyone else with a question? Councillor Nishikawa.
I guess I just want to hear the words through you to whoever can answer. So does this clarify the other outstanding issues with the district?
I can tell you it does not. There is still a similar discussion that has to happen at district involving
Thank you.
Similar discussions around the MOU, but also and the liability and the trigger for liability that might cause a claim. There's several moving parts here. But it also doesn't close off the district issue, to my knowledge. I'm certain it doesn't, with respect to Highway 118 on, and the 1.3 kilometer segment that is under the jurisdiction of the district and still, as far as I know, under their review. But nothing we can do here will bind the district. Nothing we can do here will impact liability that's incurred on district property, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not giving a legal opinion, but it doesn't. We're really looking at the risks associated with allowing activity to happen on township property, and when and how it's covered, and for how much it's covered. Councillor Zavitz.
So thank you. Do you, again, to rephrase, does supporting this document help move the needle towards the district when they see that we're in favor of this?
There's a challenge at the district, because if we approve this and move forward, we will not be the first of the lower tier municipalities to approve it and move forward with it. And so anything that is done at the district has to apply universally, my humble opinion, over all 6 of the lower tier municipalities. And I think the snowmobile trail system in Bracebridge is important. In Huntsville, it's certainly important. I think it's very important in Georgian Bay Township. Can't speak to the others. You know, it's not our jurisdiction to worry about, but I think this makes it that much more, puts a little more pressure on district to find a solution to the problem if they have most of the lower tiers already signed to the MOU. Councillor Bosenworth.
Thank you, and through you to Director Colucci. This agreement, I understand, is actually under the controlled by the OFSC. And so my question to you is, I expect that these terms are kind of it's not, although we're dealing through the Muskoka, the Trail Association, we're probably really dealing with the OFSC, and this is a standard clause in their agreement. Is that essentially what's going on here?
And through you, Mr. Mayor. So the agreement, the MOU is drafted by the OFSC, and the insurance is provided by the OFSC, but it's the local club that signs the MOU. So if you look at the resolution, there's also a secondary part of the resolution that allows us to sign the same MOU with other clubs, because there are 2 other clubs that operate in Muskoka Lakes. So that local club will be signing. So, you know, the reasoning from the club for not changing that liability issue is that that liability does not fall on OFSC, but it falls on the directors of the local club.
All right, if there's no other questions, I have a couple, but I was going to hold off. We have not had a similar, or any, to my knowledge, type of written MOU in the past with the snowmobile clubs in the history of our relationship with them, which goes back, I'm going to guess, 25 years at least, maybe longer. Yeah, maybe more. I just want to make sure that's true.
That's correct. That there has been no,
So
I mean, the club hasn't sought signature of an MOU in the past, so.
Okay, and so to the extent that there is coverage here, and that there is some liability that is protected by the insurance, it's coverage and liability that we didn't have, or it's insurance and coverage that we haven't had at any point in the past, to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's correct. So, you know, with this MOU, we will be covered by the $15 million policy of OFSC. And, you know, prior to that, we had our own insurance, which our insurance agent is here, but, you know, we are covered by that insurance. So, you know, similarly, if a snowmobile trespasses on our park and, you know, something happens, then, you know, our insurance would cover that.
Okay. Councillor Bosenworth.
So just to conclude on that comment, by signing this, we have in fact reduced township's risk.
Correct. Yes, there.
Yes, we have. Okay, any other questions? Anybody want to take a shot at Mr. Hutchison? He's here. He's an insurance guy. We've all wanted to have a chat with them before. All right, thank you very much, Director Colucci. I'm going to read a resolution and then we can have a discussion if we wish or have more questions. Moved by Councillor Roberts, seconded by Councillor McIntyre. Be it resolved that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign the Muskoka Lakes Snow Trails Association Memorandum of Understanding is attached to report PW 2024-049, Appendix 1, and that the mayor and the clerk be authorized to sign the necessary documentation in a similar format or any other snowmobile clubs that require memorandums of understanding for access to township property for snowmobiling. Anybody with a question? I'm seeing none. I'm going to ask really quickly. Have the other snowmobile clubs, this is news to me that there are two others, have they approached us or are they just sort of waiting to see what happens here? Or what's that relationship?
One of them has approached us actually on the same day that this
Okay.
agenda was issued. And the MLSTA told me that there is another club that's working on
Okay.
their letter now. So they're just getting their route.
And
plan.
since this document and the relationship you've had in sort of negotiating it is with the governing overarching body, presumably if it's good for one, it's good for all three. Is that a fair?
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully,
Yes.
okay.
I haven't shown the agreement to the other
Oh, fair enough.
parties yet.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I've read the question. Anybody read the resolution. Does anybody have any more questions? Councillor Nishikawa, Councillor Zabits? Sorry, were you voting? Well, I haven't called the question yet. Councillor Zabits is.
Through you, I am a little concerned about this is the first I've ever heard of more than one. We've had so many discussions with the club and now there's two other clubs. I mean, are these? Oh, they're not offshoots or?
So,
Councillor Berry?
thank you. So really what's happened is the Snowmobile Association has said they need to get better organized. They need to do a better job. They need to have some more formal. So what we've got here is the snowmobile organization scrambling to get their P's and Q's in proper order, and we should probably be commending them for doing that. They're helping us as a township. They're reducing our liability. They're helping get better organized, and it's really nice to see them doing it. So I'd applaud the clubs for doing it, the hard work. I know we're going to have some issues at the district, but
Well, that's another day.
different
Another
topic.
body. Councillor Roberts, your hand's up.
Thank you. Very quickly, just to explain some of the other clubs. There's a club that comes in from the Bracebridge area around, and they handle they flow into Brandy Lake, and so that's one of the clubs probably that is approaching us. They were probably waiting for the bigger trail organization of Muskoka Lakes to get it done first. So that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, any other questions? Then I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Colucci. I appreciate that. Oh, anyone opposed? Sorry, I should check. Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, okay. What am I doing here? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hutchison. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up, we're going to hit the consent agenda. We have 4 items, I think, here, and I wanted to find out if anyone had anything they wanted to pull from any one of them, or is it already pulled? It's already pulled, in fact.
Planning, that was going to be pulled.
Oh. Another matter in planning to be pulled. No. Not seeing it. Was it me? Mr. Sharp, did you have something to suggest or comment? No?
He's moving.
Good afternoon, members of council. Good afternoon, Mayor. I believe there was one item that needs to be pulled with respect to the Woodrich consent application. I believe a member of staff may have been coordinating with the clerks ahead of this meeting, but I do know that that is something that we wanted to pull.
Yes, sir. Director Perosi, go ahead.
Thank you. So through you, it does have to be a member of council that pulls the resolution. So just confirming that based on that from staff, that staff would like to pull something. Is there a member of council who would be amenable to doing that? Yes. Okay, we have that. Thank you.
So that's been pulled. Thank you both very much. Okay. All right. So first one up is General Finance Committee minutes. I've got a resolution to read, moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact the following minutes and recommendations contained in the November 13, 2024 consent agenda and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. Number one, October 16, 2024 General Finance Committee action items 1 through 5 and 7. Number two, October 16, 2024 council minutes. Number three, October 17, 2024 Planning Committee minutes and action items 1 through 6 and 8 through 12. And number four, October 22, 2024 Special General Finance Committee minutes and action items 2 through 4. Anybody have any comments or questions on those matters? Councillor Bosenworth.
Did the requested pull, was it excluded in there? Thank you.
So the polls are pulled. Anyone else? Question? All right, no comments? And I'll call a question. All in favor? That carries. Anyone opposed? I think that carries. That carries. Okay. Next up is one of the pulled items. And which one is this? This is, all right. We have, this is the one relating to the Muskoka Community Foundation. I think there were 2 people indicating a conflict. They're going to recuse themselves. Thank you very much. Who can I replace this with? Okay, Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. And through you, I would request that this item be pulled, but I would also request that it go back to committee. So I'm not sure procedurally how we do that. And instead of having it here and voting on it here and now, I would much prefer, because it seems like it's a requirement for more information, for more clarity, from what I'm hearing from some of my peers. So I would not want to be put in a position to vote on this here and now. So could it go back to committee is a question.
The original motion that from last meeting, it's the exact same one, and that's what the original motion said.
Okay.
Do you want to read that and then
And then make
decide
an
what you want to do?
Okay. All right, we're going to have to likely make an adjustment to this. I'll read it the way it's presented, then we'll have to discuss what kind of amendment we need to make. And generally, if that's what the consensus is, we will do it. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact action item 6 contained in the October 16, 2024 General Finance Committee minutes, that staff be directed to work with the Muskoka Community Foundation to develop a Muskoka Lakes Community Fund to replace the township's existing community grants program, and further, that staff be directed to bring the final terms of the Muskoka Lakes Community Fund back to committee for review and approval at a later date, a future date, pardon me. So instead of, just to clarify your point, and I think I heard it from somebody else in the room too, instead of actually passing this today, your request is that we simply refer it back to committee to be reconsidered from new.
Please.
So we will capture that. Does anyone else have any comments on that idea? Oh, who's up there? Councillor, can't see it. Councillor Kent, or it's all reflection.
Thank you. I guess I'm confused, Mayor Kelly. I thought we turned this down at the GNA. And the wording of your resolution says we're approving it. without discussion. So I don't understand unless I
Well-
misunderstood.
Well, no, and that was,
Gotcha.
that was going into this, thank you for the question, but let me offer my idea up of what we're trying to accomplish. Would defer to Director Perochki on this one, but I think what we were trying to do is get to the point where we approved it today and referred it to get hammered out in detail and approved through committee. Is that what we originally?
No, I thought we turned it down at the last meeting.
We did, but it's been pulled for reconsideration.
Okay, but then we gotta we have to go back and have a full discussion of all the issues that all the issues and reasons why people turned it down.
All right, and that's what we were trying to do, but I'm going to let Director Perochki speak to that.
Thank you. Through the chair, procedurally, when it comes to ratifying any of the minutes from committee, committee puts forward recommendations. So when you make any decision at committee, it's not final until it comes to this body. So whether you approve of it or deny it, that actually isn't final until you make your decision here. So any member of council can contact us ahead of time or at the meeting, say, I'd like a certain matter pulled. It's pulled in its entirety as it was presented to committee, and then council gets to decide on it as it was presented at committee. So because it's two separate bodies and committee doesn't have the authority to make a final decision, council brings it here and then has kind of a sober second thought or another chance to take a look at the matter and see what they want to do with it. So the resolution that's in front of you is exactly what was presented at committee last month. So if you were to approve it, it'd be approved. If you denied it, it'd be denied. And then I'm hearing so far one councillor, should that get a seconder, then that matter would actually be referred back to committee in its entirety as well. So it's just because it's two separate bodies and it's not final until the decision is made here.
Okay.
Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. I'd like to understand why we want to turn it back and overturn our decision of last month, which I was not at. But what's the justification or the reason why it's thought that it should be relooked at?
Councillor Zavitz.
Just to add another wrinkle to it. So I was requested by a councillor to bring this forward who's not here. So in fact, I voted against it a month ago. So what I'm hearing from others since this discussion was that there was some interest in better understanding the format and how this thing could benefit the township of Muskoka Lake. So I'm certainly willing to, as moving it forward, I'm certainly willing to listen at committee again. Perhaps there is more information, more, and we can be enlightened, and this may be a good thing. Otherwise, if we vote on it here and now, it probably will be the same result as the last time. So, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, can it go back to committee and give this thing another chance for information?
So Councillor Roberts, did that satisfy your question?
That satisfies my questions. I do have comments after.
Okay, that's good. Councillor Kent, your hand is up again there with a question.
Yes, thank you. So if you send it back to G&A, we'll have an open discussion and vote on it again. I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem with not having a full and fluid discussion today with materials in front of us to remake a decision that was already approved. And I don't know who put this forward as wanted to have it discussed, but we might be interesting to hear whoever put it back on the agenda, what their thoughts are and why they suggested putting it back on the agenda. So I don't know.
That's fair comment. Yeah, that's fair. I appreciate that. They're not here. So that can happen at committee next month if we decide to refer it back.
When you say they're not here, sorry, those people who are out of the room aren't eligible to be involved, are they?
No, they're not.
So how can they pull it off the agenda then?
It's not them.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Zavitz.
And I'm happy to clarify, certainly, I was contacted by Councillor Mazan and asked, because she's not going to be here today, to bring it forward. I weighed that yay, nay, and decided that sure, in the interest of, a greater understanding and always wanting to be positive about the information that we gather and making those big decisions, even though this was voted down, it was voted down essentially, it was a tie. So, it did seem that there were there were doubts and doubts because of possibly not enough information or the right kind of information. So in this regard, we have no information in front of us today to make any more of a decision than to put it back to committee or we vote. If we vote on it now, I'm not sure how I would vote. Thank you.
That's fair. Okay. Anyone with any other questions? I'm going to take direction from Director Prochi. We've read this.
Tonight, if you read this one, it's just referring it to next month and you're done.
So I'll read this next.
Yeah, you read that and take a vote on that.
Okay. All right. I'm going to read this revised or this new resolution to address the request of Councillor Zavitz. Moved by Councillor Zavitz, seconded by Councillor Kent. Be it resolved that action item 6 contained in the October 16, 2024 General and Finance Committee minutes be referred back to the next General and Finance Committee for further discussion. Any questions? Any comments? Gord, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. Yes, if there's a seconder required on this, I will second it. I did have discussions on this subject between our last meeting and now, and I think it'd be prudent that we did turn it back to make sure we are making the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, I've read the resolution. Any more questions or comments? I'll call the question. All in favor? And can I see anyone opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you very much. Do you want to ask? Oh, yeah, sir. CEO Pink, do you have a question?
Thank you, through you, the chair. I suspect I know the answer, but just to confirm, if any councillor wishes any particular information that staff you would find beneficial to your discussion next month, happy to take that now, or perhaps just place the same report on the agenda. But again, if there was something in particular that you were looking for further information on, we're happy to investigate and provide that.
Thank you for that. Councillor Roberts, your hand is up again?
Thank you.
Or still?
No, I put it back up and down.
Okay.
I put it back up. Thank you, CEO Pink, for that. And I will send you my input to you in writing rather than now.
Thank you. That's good. Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you to Director or CEO Pink, that I would welcome the opportunity for the presenter who delegated a month ago to come back to GNF and redelegate with further clarity, because that's where it started. You know, I think there were a lot of questions after she made the pitch, and then we have the benefit of some people on our own committee and council, but they're gagged here in front of us, so we can't seek that information from them. Thank you.
That's a good comment, and I did run into her yesterday, and I think I can't speak for her, but I'm sure she's happy to come back and clarify whatever needs to be clarified. Okay. Don't leave me now.
She's out.
Oh, she's going to get to the other two. All right. Councillor Bosenworth.
One more.
Yep.
Procedural thing.
Yes. The planning matter?
Yep. You will speak? Okay. Okay, we have one more matter on the on this sort of overarching thing called consent agenda. It is a resolution relating to a planning matter. I'm going to read the resolution and then we'll ask someone, one of staff, planning staff, Zoe's going to join us and walk us through it. So moved by Councillor Bosenworth, second by Councillor Mazan. Oh, not dead here. Burry. Second by Councillor Burry. Be resolved that the mayor and council adopt and enact action item 7, consent application B/32/24/ML (Woodrich), contained in the October 17, 2024 Planning Committee minutes. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. On October 17th, 2024, Planning Committee approved consent application B/32/24/ML in the name of Woodrich, which permitted the creation of a new lot fronting onto Muskoka District Road 118 West. The District of Muskoka has since provided updated comments requesting that 2 additional conditions be added to address access to the proposed severed and retained lot, and to address the location of wells on the property in relation to a district road. These conditions read as follows. One, that the applicant obtain a conditional permit from the District of Muskoka for the proposed severed and retained lot in application B 3224 ML Woodridge for access onto the district road. And two, that the lands be subject to an agreement with the District Municipality of Muskoka pursuant to section 5126 of the Planning Act as amended, respecting the location of wells in relation to the district road. Staff are recommending that these additional conditions of consent be added as conditions of approval to the consent application, and that the existing condition requiring that confirmation be received from the District of Muskoka that an entrance permit is available for the severed lot be removed. Staff have no further comments at this time and are happy to answer any questions from the council. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Edwards.
Yes, is this not coming back to planning on Thursday?
This is coming back to planning on Thursday.
I thought it was
Go ahead.
deferred at that time, both of them, were they not?
Through you, Mayor Kelly, the Gammon consent application is being returned to Planning Committee. It was deferred by Planning Committee. The Woodridge application was approved.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Does anyone else have a question? No. I've read the resolution. Sorry. Isn't that what this is?
No.
Oh.
You have to further change it.
Oh, sorry, there's two parts to this. So first thing we need to do is accept staff's recommended changes. So what we had in front of us was simply what we approved last month at planning, not approved, but recommendation for approval at planning. And we've now got another resolution to read to add what we've just heard are the two new conditions since received from district. All right, so I'm gonna read this. We'll start with that. Okay, this one is moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that action item 7 contained in the October 17, 2024 Planning Committee minutes be amended to remove the following condition of consent in relation to consent application B/32/24/ML Woodridge. That confirmation be received from the District of Muskoka that an entrance permit is available for the severed lot. And further that action item 7 contained in the October 17, 2024 Planning Committee minutes be amended to include the following two additional conditions of consent in relation to consent application B/32/24/ML Woodridge. That the applicant obtain a conditional permit from the District of Muskoka for the proposed severed and retained lot, bracket B/32/24/ML Woodridge, for access onto the district road. That the lands be subject to an agreement with the District Municipality of Muskoka pursuant to section 51/20 or bracket 26 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended, respecting the location of wells in relation to the district road. So those are the changes we've just heard requested. Will anyone have any questions on those? All right, then I'm going to call the question on that resolution first. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you. And I've already read this resolution. Okay, so just all the question. All right, so we've read the main resolution. We've made the amendment or the proposed amendment. All in favor on the one that I've already read. Thank you. Carries anyone? No, that's carries. Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay. Now move on to new business. The first item on the agenda is the community center light up the night request. We've heard the presentation from Mr. Klos. We've had some questions back and forth on that. My summary, my recommendation was a request for $2,000 to procure, to be matched with another $2,000 from the applicant to buy decorations to decorate the, as I understood it, only exterior of the community center. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? Councillor Nishikawa.
Thank you. It's through you to Nick, I think it would be the right direction. I guess I just $2,000 is or $4,000 is a lot of stuff that you can be wanting to hang and that type of thing. Do we have concerns about how when it's blowing in the wind, like all of that type of, I can't imagine how much stuff, you know, and whether it'll, the original tree, which quite frankly was sponsored for many, many years by Weissmillers, is still, their lights are still there and it's still appreciated. And I don't want to say that, but I just can't imagine how much more will be added and then what happens when it's blowing around, or also when does it come down and will it prohibit other uses of the community center in how they're doing this? And I just know there's one other situation that's going to be coming up for the Cranberry Festival. They're going to be asking for a wall, an outside wall of the community center. So I'm just trying to picture what all that is with no cost, by the way.
I heard you. Was that a question for Director Cloutier? Because just a comment. Okay, you got it. Okay. That's no response, or it wasn't really a question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's not really a question, but I think if council does approve this application, then staff will work with the applicant to ensure that, you know, number one, if they are attaching onto the building, that it will not damage the building. And if they are placing decorations, you know, around that, you know, they're safe and they're held down properly so they won't blow around in the wind. That's what we'll do.
And just as a collateral question to that one, do we have kind of procedural rules on how people climb ladders and get up there to hang these things?
Yes. So, you know, obviously if they would have to abide by our health and safety requirements. So all those things. So if they're using a contractor, the contractor would have to abide by our requirements. And if they're doing it on their own, we probably would want them to be managed by our own staff. So if they are affixing something to the building, more than likely we want our staff to do that attachment to ensure that no damage is done to the building.
Okay, Councillor Bosenworth and Councillor Zavitz.
And through you, would we take these down or are we going to put them up permanently?
Again, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what they are getting, but more than likely if they're Christmas decorations, we take them down and then store them somewhere.
Councillor Zavitz and Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, and through you. And I suppose to James Cox. So yeah, I'm more concerned, sort of an overarching perspective as it relates to all of our community centers and in fact, all of our facilities. I was surprised to find out through James Cox that we have an MOU with Mr. Klos relating to last year. There are $17,000 worth of supposedly of lights and labor on that tree right now, which is our tree at the community center. So I don't think, you know, for the benefit of the rest of this council, I was completely taken unaware that we actually had an MOU, which of course would have been a staff function at that time, delegated to staff. But it surprised me to find out that we actually have an MOU with a private individual for the use of the township property. And I recall many times over the years with the Director Becking or a public works director, you know, if the dock floated up in Torrance and somebody tied it up to the dock, our dock, I mean, they would come in 2 minutes and get rid of it and off it goes because you can't be touching our facilities. So while I applaud these people for coming forward, and I'm really stuck between that, we actually have an MOU with them right now, whether it's an MOA or an MOU for what's there. It might be in a memorandum of agreement, but I'm aware through James that it's there. I don't know if James could speak to that, but and how that unfolded. But does that surprise anyone that there's an actual formal agreement with these people?
I don't know anything about it. I don't know if I'm surprised or not. Mr. Cox, should I be surprised?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. So just for council's clarity, what is in place is when we receive applications for special events, oftentimes they will request use of township supplies, barricades, picnic tables, garbage cans, that kind of thing. So it is our standard practice to enter into a memorandum of agreement with them at that point that lays out how many picnic tables, garbage cans, whatnot they want, when they want them delivered, when they'll be picked up, condition that they keep them in good repair, and they'll reimburse the township if there's any damage to it, that kind of thing. So when the Light Up Night group approached staff last year with the proposal to put additional lights on the tree, after some discussion, it was determined that the best way to handle that request through the special events process was to enter into an MOA with them that stipulated when the lights would be put up, during what period they would have access to the property, that sort of thing. After the event last year, the group approached staff and asked if it would be possible to waive the condition that required the lights to be removed by a certain date in the anticipation that they would be doing this event again in 2024. And again, after some discussion, staff agreed to that request.
I have a quick question. Would you anticipate that if we were to move forward with this, there would be a similar kind of MOU relationship or MOA relationship to govern how and when and under what conditions the decorations get hung?
Yes, Your Worship, that is what I anticipate.
Councilor Nishikawa.
I'm a little bit taken by the amount, the $2,000, only because I've been in conversations with Corey about addressing some issues that we have in Torrance. And it has to go through the right budget process. And we're not talking about a lot of money. Quite frankly, we were talking about maybe $1,000 and I'm just not clear that we're treating every community center the same at all, honestly, and that we were opening doors for applications coming next meeting, and how do you say no? I gotta say that loud and clear, because we do have so many communities and busy community centers as well. I am also concerned, and I hope that everyone is aware that at least for 25 years that I was involved with the Trek to Bethlehem, that all those lights have to be shut off. But that's an important thing for instance, these folks to understand that their tree is not going to be all lit up during those events and stuff, right? So I just wanted to make sure that our staff knew that was an issue.
Well, if I may, you started off saying you think you were shocked by the amount, but it sounded like you're shocked. It's more the process that they're here without having gone through.
It's also the amount, like $2,000 of Christmas decorations. I can't imagine what they are. Like I'm almost thinking blow up stuff or and then we're got electricity. Like I don't know. I have no idea. It would have been nice to actually see a presentation.
You've been patient, Councilor Roberts. You're up next, and then I think Councilor Zavitz, you had your hand, or maybe it was Councilor Edward. Councilor Zavitz, okay.
Well, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm encouraged with what's happening there, but I have a couple of questions. I know that we have got finally a hall board in at the Bala, and I'm wondering if they should be involved in this. I can just compare it to Milford Bay. We wanted Christmas lights, so we went through the process of asking for a community grant to do that, which was done, and we worked with the township to get those lights up. I'm also going to want to say that I've brought this up numerous times in the last 2 or 3 years. We have a community grant program, and then we are approached throughout the year for someone who has missed it or know about it and are asking for $2,000 in this case. And I'm thinking that I don't know, I don't think I could be supportive of the $2,000, even though I am supportive of the event. I think it needs a little more thought to put into it, because with Councillor Nishikawa, $4,000 of lights is a lot of lights, a lot of Christmas decorations. And what happens to the township money after the event? Do they end up in someone's garage? Or do they now the responsibility of the township to take care of? So I've got a lot of questions on that. So I will be bringing up during budget these ad hoc requests that come in, because they're not budgeted. And maybe we should have a slush fund in our budget set up for these types of things. Thank you.
A slush fund. You raised one interesting point that I wanted to follow up with Mr. Cox. I was not clear on whether Mr. Klos said he had applied for the second tranche of funding, in which case I think he's out of time, isn't he?
Yes, Your Worship. So in our communication, the way our community grant program is run, we will have up to 2 intakes a year. However, in this case, the as council will recall, the funds was fully allocated in the spring intakes. We didn't run a fall intake this year. Certainly any inquiries that we receive, that staff receives about community grants, we advise them that there'll be an intake in the spring, and if funds remain, there will be an intake in the fall. But anyone who wishes to be guaranteed that their application is considered is strongly encouraged to submit in the spring.
Thank you, Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you. Through you, a couple of things. So to Councillor Roberts' point, as representative of the Bala Hall Board, we did everything we could June, July, August, and into September to manage this event, secure this event. It was rather ad hoc last year in terms of, who was managing it, et cetera. We thought we could put it under our wing, if you will. That proved fruitless, and to where it is today. So the Hall Board of the Bala Community Center has absolutely nothing to do with this event, which is rather a shame. And I'm embarrassed to actually sit here and say that. And that would be the last time those words ever come out of my mouth in my next 2 years, because it's all about the community and bridging that. So while this, I think, is a solid community event, I would certainly not be putting forward a motion to support it with $2,000 of the township's money.
All right. Does anyone else? I don't see any on the screen. I don't see any live in front of us here. My 2 cents on this, I really love the initiative. I really applaud the kind of grassroots nature of a locally developed celebration for local people. I love the co-funding relationship. What I don't love is that it's probably 10 days away. We don't know where the funding is going. There were just too many unanswered questions about how it's going to get hung on the wall or taken down from the wall, how it's going to be kept from blowing away. I honestly think this is an initiative I could get behind if there was a little more meat and a lot less potatoes. Just, document what we're going to do, what's it going to look like, how's it going to get up there, how's it going to get down, when is it all going to happen, right through to including storage and maintenance or whatever. And I don't think everything needs to be done through local hall boards. I don't think, for instance, the Trek is, and it's an incredibly successful event, but it's thoughtful, it's carefully developed, it's documented to within an inch of its life, and I think it works very well. So, my opinion maybe lines up slightly with some of the others I heard. If this is a great idea this year, it'll be a great idea next year, but it has to be better documented, has to be in front of grants committee on a timely basis. And for that, I can't support the grant today. Councilor Nishikawa.
I just want to say, for 33 years, I've been involved with the hall board and other hall boards, including Bala. It is very important to have a hall board. That's one of the reasons why I pushed and pushed for Bala, because some of the younger community members were missing out on what that community center could do and bring to life for their So I'm just saying, I think it's incredibly important that you do involve hall boards. And we're talking, because they take responsibility, imaginary, they take responsibility for the building. They take a pride. To sort of take that away from them because someone else comes along and says, we think we're gonna decorate better than you guys could have, whatever, I'm probably wrong about saying that sort of thing, but it really, again, is be respectful to the hall boards and what they offer, because they know what's going on. And are the ones that have to go and pick up when, staff don't, sorry.
Okay, that's good. Did I see another hand? No, Councilor Bosenworth? Okay, so where are we? There's no resolution. There's nothing to move it forward. We'll convey the message through Mr. Klos, if you would, please, to get back to them and let them know. And love to see them in March next year with a request for some funding and a bit of a documented plan. That would be real helpful. Thank you. Someone wants to speak to the Integrated Watershed Management Workshop. I think it was distributed along with the material so that we all had an idea what's coming up. I think it's 2 weeks from Friday, if I'm not mistaken. CAO Pink.
Thank you. Yes, we wanted council certainly to be aware of this received invitation to an integrated watershed management workshop being put on by the town of Huntsville. As you'll note in your agenda packages, it's on November the 28th. Because this, I believe it will end up being a meeting of district council, there potentially could be, or I think it will be, trying to advance the business of the municipality. We wanted all council to be aware and to determine, again, who would wish to attend. We would encourage, if possible, that not exceed quorum, but we can accommodate should a majority of council wish to attend. And we would have a resolution prepared if that's the case.
So do you need a show of hands, or how do you want to manage that part of the issue?
Suppose if we could, I guess, if staff, if you would enlighten us with who is planning on attending, then we can accommodate after that.
I'd like to ask you questions before I answer that question.
Go ahead then, Councilor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I'm encouraged by this. The second time you used the word encouraged, but I'm also concerned because I was at a watershed meeting that was an all-day one back in the spring, and not much was decided or ideas put forward or any commitment. So this workshop, is it going to be just a case of politicians getting together and talking, or is there going to be action? Because if there's just a bunch of talk, I would not attend.
I'm going to suggest, thank you for your question and your comment. I'm going to suggest that what happened earlier, as it was described to me, was not a governance matter. It was sort of a awareness raising issue more for the general public than for politicians. And then that's why I think there was largely little in the way of governance or follow-up steps. It was really just to heighten awareness among, now I'm speaking from what I heard secondhand. I wasn't there, I didn't attend, but that's what I was told was the purpose of that last meeting. This meeting is a continuation of work that I think has already been started through the Watershed Council, through District Council, and the intention here is to find a path forward. One of the biggest obstacles to integrated watershed management is probably not understanding what it means. It's figuring out how to get 16 different municipalities and I think 3 First Nations together on the same page and understand that we have to manage this whole environment, this whole ecosystem equally and fairly and in such a way that respects not only water levels. Water levels is quite frankly not the number one issue. The number one issue I think is water quality. So quantity is in there as well. And I really do think that this is, another attempt to find a path forward among, it's at least 16, it may be more, individually governed municipalities that own a chunk of the watershed and that need to work in concert in order for us to effectively protect the environment and hopefully take a handle on managing water levels. I don't know if that answers your question. I do expect lots of talk. There'll be lots of politicians there. But I truly hope that another meeting that results in very little in the way of forward thinking or action will not be very satisfactory to anybody.
Thank you. You did get me, you had me hooked at there's going to be discussion on a path forward. So it gives me hope that we will have something. So yes, you can put my name on the yes side of the meeting. And there's a lot of groans in the room when they heard that, but yes, I will attend.
All right. Well, if we add you to the yes ledger, we do have a quorum issue. And the quorum issue can only be resolved by making that meeting, as I understand it, by declaring it and constituting it as a meeting of our township council. And we would be the only lower tier that would be sitting there in session. So I'm not going to kick anyone off, but I'm going to suggest that if we can pair it by just one, if somebody is ambivalent, if somebody thinks they won't be there, is that you're no longer? So if we had a new show of hands excluding, and you put your hand up, Gord, is that you bailing out too?
Pardon the pun, no.
Oh, sorry. All right. Let me ask one more.
I just asked a question. Is Councillor Mazan on that list? Because I'm sure.
She is not on the list right now, but I don't know that she's indicated an interest.
Yeah, she would.
Oh, she was specifically invited. Okay. So, all right. So including Councillor Mazan, she's not here to, sorry, I thought I saw a hand up down there. I just want to make sure that we aren't, listen, one way or the other, we'll move forward with it. If it's going to be a quorum, we're going to have to import, you're going to be there anyhow? Yeah, you'll have to be if it's quorum. And it'll have to be a meeting that we follow the rules and do it like a regular meeting. Councillor Nishikawa?
Like, I'm sorry, but I've been to many, many, many meetings with lots of our councils all together, and this hasn't been the situation. The fact is, we're not all sitting together. We're not.
You taking over the clerk's chair?
No, but I'm really actually baffled by this, quite frankly.
CO Pink.
Thank you. Thank you through the chair. Maybe this will help clarify. Could have done a better job explaining at the onset. I think there's two separate issues. One is quorum, and it would be helpful for staff to know if a quorum would attend, as I think the clerk would have to attend, and it would be a meeting of Township Council. The other aspect, further to Councillor Roberts' question, I can't speak for the town of Huntsville. I'm not overly familiar with the event, but I believe the intention is to agree or had a high level commitment to buy into the watershed management model. If that's the case, I think a resolution would be prudent because you would be authorizing certain members of this council to speak on behalf of council. Alternatively, I think the situation that Councillor Nishikawa might be referring to is more of a conference, just listening and certainly not committing to anything. And we would have to come back and have a discussion amongst this council or committee before making any decisions. So I think we're looking for direction on those two aspects. Who would like to attend? And would you like to authorize that subset to speak on behalf of the township at that conference or at this workshop or not? I hope that helps clarify, and certainly Director Proshi, if I misspoke or you wish to add anything, please do.
Councillor Nishikawa and then Councillor Zavitz.
I really like the idea that we treat it as your third version, that we then come back and discuss. And then it's in the public. I really like that idea that, yeah, I may drop in, everybody can drop in. We're not all sitting together, but we're observing, and then we're going to have the conversation at the council table.
Before we go to Councillor Zavitz, I want to ask Director Proshi, if that were the case, do we still have a quorum issue if there's more than 50%?
Thank you through you. This has been a discussion amongst all of the clerks across the entire district, which is why it's going to be deemed a district council meeting, because it is deemed as furthering the business of each municipality should decisions be made. So there's going to be a lot of discussion happening there, whether it's sitting together or apart or however it may be. It was deemed by all of the clerks within the district of Muskoka that should a quorum of council, of anyone's council be there, that it needed to be deemed a council meeting. So because district through the invitation list determined that they are going to have a quorum, they've already determined it has to be a meeting. So because they are declaring it a meeting, should we have a quorum there, we then need to follow suit. So it's a little bit different than just an event that we're going to or an information session, and that it's furthering the business. It's looking for commitment should a quorum be there. If quorum's not there, then it comes back to the group here to discuss at further length.
Councillor Nishikawa and then Councillor Kent.
So further, for the 4 district councillors, we're covered under the district councillor thing. And yeah, I don't know where, then do you have quorum? Because we're, you know what I mean? Like, we're at a district council meeting. We're not at a Township Muskoka Lakes meeting. And so we're part of their notification. Yeah.
Councillor or Director Proshi.
Thank you. Yes. So our quorum is determined by our council. Their quorum is determined by their council and their procedural bylaw. So their procedural bylaw is different than ours. So ours would be if we have 6 or more members attending, we have quorum, whether they're district members or township members. You're a member of this council and have to be counted as such per our procedural bylaw.
Councillor Kent and then Councillor Bosenworth.
I just want to make sure for clarity, I will not be attending. I don't think I'm on a list. So you can.
I thought you'd wind up, I thought you might wind up being the only one there.
I don't think so. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure because there's no list been read. I thought you'd read it and find out if we even have a list problem. Okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry. All right, Councillor Bosenworth.
So I will not be there. But I'm intrigued by the fact that if we did have a quorum there, we have some members who are members of both councils, and yet their objectives on voting are different for each council. When you're in a district, you got to think it from the district's point of view, not your. So how do you bridge that problem if we had one of the lower tiers have a quorum there with their district members as well? It's just, I don't think it makes a lot of difference, but it's a conundrum in my mind. How do you hear?
Director Proshi.
Apologies. Great questions. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you a fulsome explanation on that. This event has been sent out by the town of Huntsville. It was determined that there could be some issues with quorum. So the clerks got together and looked at procedure at that point. And so the information that I am bringing to the table here is per our procedural bylaw and our requirements, as well as the conversations that I've had with all of the clerks in the area and committing to making sure that we're all doing things collectively and making sure that we're not doing something as a township that's different than another township. So we're just trying to be respectful of all other municipalities as well as the district. But in regards to sitting on both, I completely hear what you're saying. It could be a conflict. I don't think they're going to be taking votes at this meeting. I think they're just going to be looking for potential commitment to something, which is why there's the option to just bring it back and why all the other municipalities aren't looking at doing a quorum there. So they're just looking at gathering the information and bringing it back to their committee. So that was the thought process behind it.
Councillor Zavitz.
Thank you, and through you. I'm certainly willing to throw support to the 3 district councilors who represent us and could represent us in Huntsville. That would be a thing, if you would. And I as I read the invitation, they're looking for two things. First of all, they're attempting to gauge the commitment in principle of continued and ongoing collaboration. So they're trying to bring all 16 together. So, I mean, I would be comfortable as a member of this council if the 3 district and the mayor and I guess the deputy mayor represented us and then brought back the notion of the MOU, because that is at a later date it will be used to craft an MOU, and I'm fine with what you folks bring back to us at this table.
And it wouldn't be the first time that a district councillor voted one way when voting for on behalf of district, or as a district councillor, and voted differently when voting on behalf of the township, which I don't know how they're going to resolve that one too, but. Councillor Edwards.
Yeah, I think I have a scheduling problem there. There's on that. My calendar is not linked in with the family calendar, but I'm sure we've got something on that day, so I'll say that I won't attend. And then maybe you can get away without having a quorum.
Will you take me with you? Now, well, it's not so much a real problem as it is a practical one. We can get around it if we have to, but if we can find a way to agree that we're going to go, learn, listen, and come back and report out and get it resolved from here. Yeah, so let's one more time, show of hands, who is planning to attend? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Every 5 counting. I couldn't see. Oh, and Susan is 6.
Resolution.
Yeah. So we're going to have a resolution with the names on it. And we have quorum, right? Councillor Bosenworth.
So if we go and we have a quorum, it still comes back here, correct?
Director Broshi, does it come back here? Depends how it's determined.
It's a general finance piece.
Do you want me to speak to that?
Yeah, you should.
Thank you. That's a difficult, through you,
Yes.
that is a difficult question to answer because I don't know exactly what's on the agenda and what's going to be asked. So if you have a quorum of council at the meeting and they're asked to take a vote because there's a quorum of district council, then that would be binding, but I haven't seen the agenda. I don't anticipate that being something that would come up at all, but I don't want to make any promises because I haven't seen the agenda.
Councillor Bosenworth.
I don't. Well, it seems to me that the best alternative is to not have a quorum there. And so I would suggest that that we as a council recommend that our district councillors and deputy mayor attend. And if not all can attend, so be it. And I would just suggest maybe that's the best for us to handle it. Yeah, I understand that, which means instead of 5 going, there'd be 4, which is fine. Well, 5 isn't a quorum either.
Okay, we're going to go with that. We don't need a resolution, right? We'll just make sure that there aren't 6 people there, that there will be 2 3 district councilors, counting myself, Deputy Mayor Mazan, and we'll call it a day. Thank you.
What about Councillor Roberts? He had indicated he wanted to go.
And so did Councillor McIntyre.
You can do a motion, you can turn it down if you want to do it that way.
Okay, what do we need a resolution? Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess and be back here at 25 minutes to 3. Is that 25? Yeah, make it 10 minutes, 20 to 3.
Quick, Mayor Kelly.
Yes, Councillor Roberts.
If Councillor Mazan is going for sure, then I will step back. Because then Ward B would be represented very well with Councillor Mazan.
That's fair. Okay, that's fair. So you could sort of stand as an alternate for Ward B?
Yes.
then we don't need a resolution. That would be great. That'd be terrific. And Councilor McIntyre, can we count you for the same thing? Excellent. Councilor McIntyre's alternate for Ward A, and I don't imagine we don't need one for, well, you're gonna be there. Ward C. Thank you. All right, if we can get everybody's attention, we're going to move forward. We have two matters to cover on the supplementary agenda. The first one, as you all saw in the supplementary agenda, there's a letter requesting a donation of ice time. And it's in support of the Muskoka Christian School auction. I don't think there's anybody speaking to it. They couldn't make it. We have a resolution, but because the resolution was not circulated with the agenda, it requires a 2/3 vote. Is that correct? If somebody wants to make a motion and finds a seconder, they need a seconder to get on the floor. We need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Nishikawa?
I don't know when they say ice time, are we talking hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? What's the dollar value?
I thought it said 2. Sorry, Director Colucci.
And through you, Mr. Mayor. So they're asking for 2 hours. It's non-prime ice, so it's $85 per hour. So $170 in total.
So Councillor Nishikawa has made the motion. Councillor Zabitz has seconded the motion. I'm going to read the resolution since there's not much else to do or talk about. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Zabitz, whereas council received a letter of request from the Muskoka Christian School regarding their New Beginnings Gala and auction fundraising event. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the request for a donation of a 2-hour ice rental for a weekday non-prime time at the Port Carling Arena. All right, so unless does anyone have any questions, anybody comments? In order for this to pass, we need to have a 2/3 vote in support. Councillor Nishikawa?
Just wondering if we could say either or arena? It just depending on what so that there's an option if they can't get the ice time at the time that they want it, they could have the option of.
So we will make an amendment to change it to read non-prime.
Or just staff knows.
I'm sorry?
Or just staff knows, like.
Okay, that's fine. We'll leave the resolution as it is and staff can be accommodating to the extent they have a time that can't be worked into the Port Carling schedule. Any other discussion? Any other comments? Councillor Bosenworth.
I sincerely apologize, but could you read the resolution again for me?
Sure. No apologies at all necessary. All right, moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Zabitz. Whereas council received a letter of request from the Muskoka Christian School regarding their New Beginnings Gala and auction fundraising event. Now therefore be it resolved that council approve the request for a donation of a 2-hour ice rental for a weekday non-prime time at the Port Carling Arena. Sorry, I'll correct that, at the Port Carling or Bala Arena. Councillor Burry.
So generally, I'm in favor of people skating and I think it's terrific. I'm wondering if we could ensure that the 2 hours that they use are not additional staff hours. So that's just 2 unused hours where staff would normally be at the arena. And my concern is not this ask, it's the plethora of asks we'll get from other groups wanting exactly the same thing. So if it's unused ice time where the arena manager is there, and really all we're talking about is a flood at the end, so there's no additional cost to the corporation. I think this is a fantastic way of getting more ice used, but I'd really like to see that we're not bringing somebody in 2 hours early. And I know that the recreation staff completely get how to manage their business. And I'm just thinking it probably doesn't even have to go into the resolution, but that, you know, staff take a look at that to try and make sure, because I do expect if we pass this, we will see other organizations asking for the same thing.
You're just trying to make this meeting longer?
Yeah.
Okay. Director Colucci, you heard all that. It's easier than me trying to capture it in writing, so we'll give you the direction. Okay, anyone other questions or comments? When I call a question, I'm going to ask you to hold your hands up so we can make sure we have a 2/3 vote. Please, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. That carries. Thank you very much. Okay, second matter on the new business, or on, sorry, supplementary agenda is a resolution regarding the Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. It's a grant application. I have a resolution that was circulated with. Oh, I'd love to read it. So I'll read it as briefly as I can. Moved by Councillor McIntyre, seconded by Councillor Zabitz. Whereas the Township of Muskoka Lakes is committed to creating sustainable recreation that promotes healthy communities and embraces the strengths of our natural environment and small town character. And whereas the Township of Muskoka Lakes has adopted a Parks and Recreation Master Plan to guide the development of parks to fulfill this vision. And whereas the Township of Muskoka Lakes has adopted a Community Improvement Plan that identifies enhancements to the public spaces to improve community vitality. And whereas Hannah Park is recognized as a community park and a major recreation asset for the Township of Muskoka Lakes. And whereas the Township of Muskoka Lakes has identified the revitalization of Hannah Park as a priority in its 10-year capital plan. And whereas the Government of Ontario has announced their support for community recreation infrastructure through the Ontario Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council endorses and supports the Township of Muskoka Lakes application to the Ontario Community Sport and Recreation Infrastructure Fund for the revitalization of Hannah Park. Okay. And no, I won't read it again. Oh, Director Donaldson, did you want to speak to this one? It's got you all over it.
Through your worship. So not really much to add. We did make the application. It was a program that was announced at AMO this earlier this year. We got word back from ministry officials that they required a resolution of council to complete the application, and that is the purpose why this has been brought forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Zabitz.
Procedurally, you read out two different councillors as mover and seconder than what is on the document that was circulated to the public. Am I right? Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Roberts.
Okay.
That may not matter, but procedurally.
So we'll go with the one I read.
Sure.
It's how it was presented. Sure. It was an administrative error in the draft that was circulated earlier. Okay, any other questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries. Thank you very much. All righty. On the home stretch here, I think. Okay, we have, where are we? All right, thank you very much. Next up, item 11A was to be a report of Director Peroshi relating to the adjustment of the dates for council and standing committee meeting. There is no real presentation. We've all had a chance to have a look at the proposed policy. So I'm going to read a resolution. It's even longer than the last one. And we will move forward. Moved by Councillor Burry, seconded by Councillor Nishikawa. Whereas Township Council Policy C-GG 14-Council and Standing Committee Meeting Schedule provides that regular Township Council and Standing Committee meetings be held on a monthly meeting schedule basis. And whereas Policy Item 1D contains a specific meeting schedule for the month of January, and whereas a number of external events and meetings conflict with this meeting schedule, now therefore be it resolved that the Township meeting schedule be amended for January 2025 as follows. Number one, Committee of Adjustment, Monday, January the 13th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Number two, General Finance Committee, Wednesday, January the 15th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Number three, Council, Wednesday, January the 15th at 1 p.m. Number four, Planning Committee, Friday, January the 17th at 9 a.m. And that Township Council Policy C-GG-14 be amended to include the following in item 1D. The CAO and or clerk may amend the January meeting schedule in order to accommodate scheduling conflicts as required. All right, any questions? Councillor Edwards.
See, you've got planning on the Friday. What is on the Thursday? District. I thought they were on. No, the district meetings, January 23rd.
I believe it's now a special budget meeting. at this-
Okay,
I think they've moved that.
okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No?
Yes,
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I didn't see up there. Councillor Roberts.
sorry, yes. This is just something I noticed in the calendar, and we experienced it in October, whereby we postponed or in October this past, we had one day as counselors, basically with staff in the office to go through the documents which were published of the previous week. And I found it quite challenging, given it was Thanksgiving weekend, to get through everything, let alone contact people on one day. And I ask, is it possible to, on instances where it is a short week and we have committee and council meetings, can we receive the documents a few days before? I don't know who to ask, but.
Well, either do I, but I could say yes. Director Perosi.
Thank you through you, and I'm looking to the CAO as well, but I do believe on weeks that lead up to a long weekend. So in 2025, we just have one being Thanksgiving weekend that we will do our best to get it out to you early. So we usually post on the Friday, so we'll do our best to get it out on the Thursday then, so that you have 2 full business days like you normally do.
Okay, thank you. And even if you can only get it partially out, it would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, I've read the resolution. I'll call the question. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay, we have half a dozen or so bylaws to work through. We have some presentations with some of this. Somebody's going to call it out if I run. No presentation on the first one. All right, I'm going to read this first resolution. Moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-098 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket 2159670 Ontario Limited and Goldhar, roll numbers 1-3-051, 1-3-052, and 1-3-052-02 be read a third time and third time? Yeah, we read a third time and finally passed. Is that right? I've got that.
There's no minor amendments, so that's okay.
Okay.
You just read it once.
Okay. So they're the same otherwise?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no minor amendments.
Okay, I've read it. There's no minor amendments, so we're going to move right to this. Anybody have any questions or comments? All in favor? Carries. Thank you very much.
It doesn't have any amendments, but it has to do with the application that was amended at this meeting.
Okay, this one does not have any minor amendments. It has to do with an application that was the subject of a conversation earlier in this meeting. I'll read it. Moved by Councillor Bosenworth, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-119 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 bracket Woodrich, roll number 9-13-017 be read a first and second time. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Then we'll cap that with this one. Moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-119 to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2014-14 Woodrich, roll number 9-13-017 be read a third time and finally passed. Any questions? We'll call it. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay, so that's those two. Next up is fire route. Yep. And is this going to have a presentation or no? Okay. All right. Moved by Councillor Kent. seconded by Councillor Edwards. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-122 to amend bylaw 2022-129, a bylaw to designate highways and private properties as emergency fire routes on which parking of motor vehicles shall be allowed in the township of Muskoka Lakes, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Anyone have any questions? No, I will call it. Sorry, what was that? Oh, okay. Good. Anyone else not going to ask their question? No? Okay. All right, we'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. That carries.
Second and
Prove the mayor's going to
you just clear.
So, which?
The one that you read, that
Yeah.
there was really confusion on,
Yeah.
read first, second, and third time. And it was just, can you just clarify that? for the
Just
record?
mention it?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to refer back to a resolution that we read a second ago. It was the Goldhar and also 2159670 Ontario Limited. The way I read it, we were reading it for a third time. In fact, we were reading it for the first, second, and third time and finally passing it. Thank you. All right, we have a couple of shore road allowances. A lot of motion. I think I felt the earth shake over here. Okay, we're gonna focus on the business here. All right, I have a resolution. This relates to implementation of the AMP system in TML, moved by Councillor Nishikawa, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-121 to amend bylaw 2023-048, being a bylaw to implement an administrative monetary penalty system in the township of Muskoka Lakes, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Any questions, comments? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. But you did it well. You did it well. All right. Next up, I don't know if we're going to have a president. I'll read the resolution. If we have anything to say, we'll hear from you. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Lake Rosso, lying in front of lot 32, concession 9 Watt, designated as parts 26 and 27 on plan 35R-24941, Clapperton, roll number 2-24-070, be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act, and that bylaw 2024-113 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of the original shore road allowance designated as parts 26 and 27 on 35R-24941 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions on this one? All in favor? Carries. Thank you. Okay, a few more here. All right, I'll read this resolution. Moved by Councillor Edwards, seconded by Councillor Burry. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Lake Rosso, lying in front of lot 30, concession 13 Watt, designated as section 9, 10, 11, and 12 on plan 35R-19763 McBain, roll number 2-26-051, be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2024-114 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as parts 9, 10, 11, and 12 on plan 35R-19763 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay, a couple more. Moved by Councillor Zabit, seconded by Councillor Kent. Be it resolved that the original shore road allowance on Skeleton Lake lying in front of lot 28, concession B Watt, designated as part 3 and 4 on plan 35R-27507, McQueen La Rose, roll number 2-20-016, be declared as surplus land, and that the clerk is hereby instructed to dispose of the said property pursuant to sections 8, 9, and 11 of the Municipal Act 2001, and that bylaw 2024-115 to stop up, close, and convey that portion of original shore road allowance designated as parts 3 and 4 on plan 35R-27507 be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions? All in favor? That carries. Thank you. All right, this is the last one. Okay, this is moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Bosenworth. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-116 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2024-086 short-term rental licensing be given 3 readings and finally passed. Any questions, comments? All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right, I think the next step is to move into closed. Moved by Councillor Kent, seconded by Councillor Roberts. Be it resolved that council in closed session convene at. Thank you. PM for A, exemption, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, section 239 sub 2 sub C of the Municipal Act 2001. And under that, number 1, confidential report CCS-2024-27. So, all in favor? We're going closed. Thank you. So we're going to take a 10-minute break and